Welcome back. We're talking about the revolutionary changes underway in the automobile industry. Let's get back to our panel. And let me go to Lauren. Lauren, do you want to respond to what Ashley was saying about the fact that autonomous vehicles or driverless cars is going to change many things in the industry? It's going to change how dealer networks operate, going to change public transport and how they work.
Well, there are three major factors that could stop autonomous cars. The first one's the most obvious: the government regulations. Right now, they're putting together regulations on what is actually going to happen with autonomous cars. Remember, there will be a mix when they finally hit the street, whenever that may be. There will be a mix of people who will not get rid of their vehicles. I will be not getting rid of my vehicles no matter what. I like to drive. I like my freedom. I'm not giving it up. And as far as people that want autonomous cars, that's a big one. Then comes factor number two, the insurance companies. Where in the line in the sand are you not responsible whatsoever for your vehicle, and the car manufacturers are? That's going to be huge. And that's one thing we don't know. And the reinsurance companies, those are the people that insure the insurance companies, are already in a panic mode. I've talked to a couple of people that are board directors. They're not sure how they're going to do this, because the big other factor that's going to impact them is the tort attorneys. They're just like, oh, this is awesome. As soon as the first autonomous electric vehicle accident happens, they're going to be licking their chops, just waiting to sue everybody in line they can think of: the battery company, the technology company, the car manufacturer, who was involved in the accident. It's going to be very, very ugly.
The transition is going to be very mild and very light. Nobody's going to notice through your deep tint windows whether you've got your hands on the wheel or not. And most people won't care.
You can't use deep tint in most states. You can't use deep tint in most states.
There will be, I promise you, there will be mavericks and pirates everywhere. There will be computer hackers everywhere. Will have their cars totally automated. It doesn't matter what the government wants. The government's going to have to get in line with what the public demand is. The tort lawyers will have a nice time.
There isn't
the
demand.
Corporations will fit.
Okay,
it's all going to move ahead.
All right,
It'll all move ahead.
Okay, let me move on to Michael. Michael, there's a former technology and innovation advisor to Hillary Clinton, Alec Ross. He's raised these concerns that Lauren was raising a moment ago, talking about the change and, you know, the risks inherent in that change, about cars being vulnerable to hacking, to sabotage. People could be killed in those cars. Are these valid concerns?
Yeah, we're already seeing that, and the more connected the cars are, which they're already connected, and that connectivity is being driven by all the advanced technology, the move to electronics, the move to automation. We're going to see more and more connections between a car and the outside world, and each one of those creates a vulnerability. So it's incumbent on the technology providers and the automakers and the government as oversight to make sure that everything is secure. We're gonna see mistakes. We're gonna see hacks, but it's all moving forward, and there are a lot of folks that are really focused on this. The industry is very concerned about cybersecurity.
All right, Bruce, actually, I'll get to you in a moment. I just want to get to Bruce. Bruce, what is your feeling on these changes that we could see in the near future? Would the entire business model for the auto industry change? People wouldn't have to own cars. They could just rent cars, take them from point A to point B. This would be the sharing economy, wouldn't it?
Yes, the sharing economy is a story of that is being talked a lot about. You see it a lot in the Uber and the Lyft kind of story, where you're looking at basically different forms of taxis. Going back to the point that one of the other speakers spoke about, it had to do with people being unwilling to actually give up their cars. The sharing economy kind of demands that everybody has access anytime they want it, as they do with their regular vehicle. To give up your vehicle and then say, okay, I'm going to just rely on other people and these other services may work in some places. It won't work in a lot of places. One of the big issues has to do with peak demand, when everybody is on wanting to go to work in the morning and come back in the afternoon or in the early evening? Are there enough vehicles to move people around the way they want to be moved around? If they're not, people will end up using their own vehicles again, and they will. I don't think they're going to give up their vehicles very easily. I think one of the other speakers spoke about that. The unwillingness to actually make the change is not going to be an easy one for a lot of people, and I expect it to take decades for this to happen.
Ashley, you wanted to say something?
Well, yeah, pretty simply, I'll give you a nice projection. It's likely within 15 years that the desire to buy petroleum-powered vehicles will plummet. When these desire for these vehicles plummet, the marketplace will be flooded with petroleum-powered cars with cheap gasoline everywhere because people want electric cars. As soon as they realize the reliability and the ease of ownership and that electrical plugs are every 10 feet, a miracle will go that way in droves. The automakers are really worried about the price of gasoline-powered cars plummeting, so they're trying to control it. Look how quickly smartphones have been assimilated by the poorly educated and the well-educated worldwide. The electric car will take the planet the way the smartphone has taken the planet.
But smartphone only costs a couple $100, or you can get an Obama phone for free. For the rest of us that actually have to purchase our cars and don't get government subsidies, if there wasn't a government subsidy, no one would be buying electric cars. The only reason they're being sold is because they are getting money or something for free. I'm telling you right now, I'm here at Pebble Beach, and there's billions of dollars in cars here, and people like myself, there's not a chance in this world I'll give up my vehicle. You'll have to pry the keys out of my cold, dead hands.
Lauren, you're with the 1%. Lauren, you're with the 1% in Pebble Beach. No, not you. You're with the 1%.
Okay, just one at a time. Let me go to Michael. Michael, let's look at the impact that driverless cars would have, and I know you've done some work on this, on the urban environment. I mean, will we still need things like parking spaces if people are going to join this sharing economy? Will we even need parking garages for that matter? And, I mean, if we look, we're taking at least 2 lanes on some roads to park cars. Will those lanes now be free?
Yes, but there's kind of a interesting sidelight to this, which is that the cities right now depend on the revenue that they get from parking, and it's a major part of the income for a lot of cities. So you're talking about a major shift, and it's already happening here in San Francisco, in terms of how the cities deal with vehicles. Another related thing to this is maybe we're going to still have parking structures that may be smaller, but they also may be used for different things. I was at a panel last night where a representative from a company affiliated with Daimler is talking about how they're going to use drones for the last mile delivery. And they need a secure place to land those, and the top of a parking structure could be a good place for that. So we're talking about a real shift for a lot of cities in terms of how they deal not just with the automobile, but with the revenue that comes from parking. And it's going to change a lot of things. The cities are scrambling to try and catch up.
And Lauren, what about investment in these technologies? We know Tesla, for instance, to try and generate the production that they want to right now, the numbers that they're talking about, they're going to need a lot of investment over the next few years. Is that forthcoming?
He just put out some junk bonds. He even called them junk bonds, which I found amusing. Tesla probably wouldn't be here today if he didn't get $5.2 billion in your government dollars. And the problem with that, by using government dollars, is it's fine for people that live in Palo Alto. They get the benefit. But for those of us that live in the middle of the country, we don't get that benefit. And people that don't make a lot of money, that are poorly educated, that live in poor areas, can't afford electric vehicles, but they are still funding charging stations. They are still funding all these government subsidies. So in order for a free market reign, for example, Bollinger Motors just came out with a product. He's not using any government money. He's using all private funding, either his own or someone else's. I say, great. You use your own capital, let the free market reign. If people want to buy your product, that's fantastic. You should invest in that if you believe in it. Just like any other product, but don't take government money in order to fund your company. He didn't do it with PayPal. He shouldn't have done it with Tesla.
Okay, one final point before we go, and I'm going to go to Michael for this. Michael, at the beginning of the segment, we saw the Jetsons in a flying car. How far are we away from that?
Well, I grew up in the Jetsons, and that was a while ago, and there are some flying cars right now, but they're not very practical. And I'll go back to what I was just talking about. I think we're going to see a lot of flying drones. There's not going to be room for flying cars.
Well, the Japanese say they will have a flying car in the air by the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, so we'll have to see. Thanks to all of you for being with us. Great show, thank you. That's it for this edition of The Heat. I'm Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us.